You just seen a video of me doing the talons with an item, this item here. I've played with it. She knows the item. She was perfectly happy. She's into a game. She doesn't snatch for it. I'm fine. She's fine with it, Tubes. So I want to point that out. That I introduced this to her for some time ago. She turns it into. I've turned it into a game. So when I say I had never done it before, I have touched the talons before like that, but not to file them. This was all part of the process of training her that it was fine and it wasn't going to hurt her. So it was introduced to her, Tubes, but I never used it really for filing the talons like I showed you. But I want to make that clear, because you'll probably get some comments. See, look, it's a game, look, Tubes. Clever girl. Good girl. See? Good girl, Papa. See, she's perfectly fine with it. I introduced that some time ago, Tubes, because I'm on my own here. That's what I like to use to cope a beak. I don't like to use anything else. This is what I find I like. Even on the talons, I like to use this, and I'll just put a bit more work in to file them with this. It's a coarse sanding grit. Alright, it's very coarse. So that's what I use. But be careful which type you use. Make sure it's not got any. Make sure it's not silicone based or anything like that. So be careful which one you use if you did use that. But as long as you don't heat it up, it should be alright. No, I'm thinking of that other stuff, but it is fine too, that one. I thought I'd point that out to you, Tubes, because I said the first time I've done them. What I meant is the first time I've introduced it to her, look, Tubes. See, she's perfectly fine. I know she's perfectly fine with it. Do you see, Tubes? But I hadn't shaped her talons with it because I like long talons, but they are getting a bit long. So I thought, well, I'll just try it today, and she was fine. So that, my invaluable tool, remember I'm on my own, copes all a beak. Didn't it, Pop? Copes a beak, good girl, Pop it. It copes a beak. See, look, it's true. We turned it into a game, that says. See? So I wanted to make that plain. That I introduced that to her for a long time, and it wasn't like that when I introduced it. It was all handled in a different way. It was slightly different to that. I had to get her used to certain things, and then I slowly rolled it. It was all introduced slowly, stress-free from her. So this is what I use, coping a beak. And I'll do her talons from now on. But I like them long too, because I do like long talons, but they are probably a little bit long. So I want to make that plain. She's perfectly happy with that. She doesn't grab for it. I know she doesn't grab for it, so I'm happy to work on her feet without her feet being restrained, because I know she's happy with this, and she will not grab for it. Alright? Not without me knowing it. I know the type of merge she's in, but she will not grab for this, lot, Tubes. Do you see? This is important. Never use tools around them unless you secure them with somebody else. I have no one else with me to help me. I wish I did, but I don't. If I had someone else to help me out a little bit, things would go a bit better for me. So, but I have to come up with ways of doing everything myself, Tubes. So I wanted to point that out, because I don't want any silly comments. I know that she's fine with this. I know she doesn't grab for this. This is what you got to be careful of. If you never come by their feet, tubes. Never come by their feet. No one's commented, but I know what they'll do is try and make some silly comment. But this has been introduced to her. This is the modified version of what I first introduced to her, because it was different to this when I first introduced it. So she's fine with this, look. I know she's fine and she's calm now. I can see now that she's calm. Do you see? I would know if she wasn't calm, then I wouldn't do things like this, tubes. Do you see? So I just want to point that out to you. Try and get someone to help you do things like that. I have to come up with ways to do it myself. But it took a long time to get her to accept certain things. A long time. It's not easy. So I thought I'd better point that out to you, tubes. But be careful. Be very careful. That's what I can say to you. Don't you attempt that. Something like that, unless you got someone to secure their legs, tubes. Alright? So I thought I'd better point that out. Remember, safety first. I know what I can do with my bird. I know that she's perfectly happy with this. I know she won't. See, look, all she'll do is take it off me, drop it on the floor. Or sometimes she'll let me play with her in the beak, then I can cope it. You got to be careful, though, because sometimes you got to make sure your finger ain't behind it, too, because she's grabbing hold to that, and you got to be careful. So what I'm saying is, this isn't an instructional video by any means. This is how I do it, because I've built the bond with my bird. I introduced this over, it was a good while to introduce this. And this is the modified. It was a different colour to start with. I found she likes like the green the best. So do you see, tubes? This wasn't just introduced to her today. She's known this for a while, and I've rubbed it on her toes like I showed you, like this, so she knows it's fine. But I'd never tried to file the talons because, as I say, I like long talons. But I will do some work on them now. Do you see, tubes? She's fine with them. They are a little bit long, I suppose. So I'll do a bit of work. It's just the bottom beak I was a bit concerned. I've done a bit more today, but she's not so keen on me doing that. Anyway, tubes, I thought I'd better point that out. I introduced this form. It's had various forms, but this has ended up like this. It's an ideal shape. What I'll do is re-roll it, get it tighter, so it's ideal shape. I'll re-roll it, get it tighter if I need to. It's ideal shape to work a beak, tubes. Do you see? So, and that's steady on a beak. It's gentle on a beak. It's safe to use because I'm on my own with her. So, do you see? It's easier on her. And it's easier for me because this is how I've had to work it. No one here to help me. So I wanted to make it plain before there may be some comments, I don't know. But you know what you can do with your bird, tubes. You know if you got a good strong bond with your bird, you know what you can do with your bird. This is my bird. I know what I can do with her, but I can't do that at all times, tubes. Sometimes she may be in a grump, so sometimes I'm best left well alone. So, or don't do it before hour or so before feeding time. You know, when they're getting a little bit old. So be careful when you do it, tubes. Your bird will have different moods throughout the day. So, as I say, I just tried it today and I was amazed that she took to it, but thinking about it, I'd introduced it to her for a while like this, making sure she knew it was fine and she wouldn't grab for it. Do you see, tubes? I know she's not going to grab for it. Do you see? So I know I was safe. My hand was safe and she was safe. So say trick check, catch you later. And thank you all my new subscribers. There's been some new subscribers. And thank you for the comments. I like the comments. And it's glad to know I do some things well sometimes. I profess to be a know-all. All I know is the birds I've had, and I try to look after them as best I can and as healthily as I can, and they always turn out really good hunters, well manned. I've took them to shows, displays. I've done displays with my birds. I've took them here and I've took them there. So trick check, catch us later. Be careful, troops. Remember, safety first.